Okay, let's talk for a moment about a very famous poem called "O Captain, My Captain." It's by Walt Whitman. The concept here that I want to focus on is the idea of a governing metaphor. That's a metaphor that goes over the whole poem and either controls it or explains it, gives it a cohesiveness or a unity of purpose, something like that. This happens to be a poem that was written on an occasion. It was the occasion of Lincoln's death. But if you ever hear the phrase occasional poem, it means it was written for a certain purpose at a certain time. That's not usually a good time to write a poem. Once in a while, a very good poem comes out of that sort of situation, but often sort of pressuring the artist to write in a, such a time constrained manner or something often destroys the aesthetic values of what you're trying to produce. Doesn't mean it destroys the historic value, though. So Robert Frost wrote a poem for John F. Kennedy's inauguration to be president. Many people over time have created poems that they may be more important historically than they are aesthetically, right? Okay, this one, though, uses a very strong, very obvious governing metaphor, and the metaphor is a ship with a captain. So this is not new at all. States or countries had often been compared to different situations, like a family, maybe, right? But the ship that has a captain is a great metaphor in some ways, because if you think about it, a ship suggests we're all in this together. Whatever we do, whatever our leader does, we can't just walk off the ship and go wherever we want to. We're in this together, so we succeed together or maybe suffer together. The importance of having a leader can be really obvious, right? They say, though, that in Shakespeare's time, for example, when Shakespeare has a poem and people speak against the king or even kill the king, as happens in some of the plays, that was a devastating concept to people 400 years ago, because when you had a king, often what followed when a king died or became really sick or something was a kind of chaos that was often very unpeaceable. At the least, it could lead to civil war and the whole country sort of crumbling. Right? We still notice that around the world in some places. The importance recently of whether Kim Jong-un's picture shows that he's actually alive and in control of his government might not seem like a big deal to most Americans, because we're so accustomed now to peaceful transitions of power. But when that Kim Jong-un became leader, and then his father before that, many people died because during the chaos and the struggles for power, sometimes one of the ways to show your power was to kill opponents or anybody who spoke against you. So this modern idea is still a very big, thing that still affects a lot of us, right? Okay, so in this poem, you're going to hear the metaphor go all the way through. I wrote a note down on one side here to point out the idea that America has often been compared to something in a metaphor that has great meaning and might, to some people, actually signify a purpose, right? So America in this case is going to be a ship, and in another case, it's a city. It's one of our grand metaphors that goes back to the beginnings of before America was America, really. And the idea that America was a shining city on a hill. You'll hear that phrase during your life many times. We're supposed to be better than what came before. In a lot of people's minds, of course, that means that we are a good Christian country. To some people, it's just a little bit more political than religious, in the sense that we had so many failing and difficult countries that were royalist countries. They believed in kings, right? Or even before that, pharaohs and things. And we're trying to do something better. We're trying to make a new kind of experiment where the common people get to lead rather than just one person, right? This poem is not really interested that much in that kind of politics, but it can't escape a good reader knowing some of those things about history and the way America has conceived itself, right? In this case, it gets very personal in the sense that the captain is there, and America has gotten through the Civil War. So in the poem, you'll see that the speaker references the fact that we've actually won, right? But that doesn't mean we've solved all the wounds in America. The people who are pro-slavery versus anti-slavery people, the people that wanted America to proceed by giving great rights to the states and not giving great rights to the federal government to control the states. That's still something very alive in American life, what the state should do and what the federal government should do. And in the time of the COVID crisis, for example, it became very clear that the disconnect between whether the states are responsible or free to do something or whether the federal government needs to do that thing is it's a life and death situation for some people, right? Okay, so I'll read this and imagine this poor guy who's, they're in the battle, he's happy, and then suddenly he realizes that the captain's dead. Oh, captain, my captain. Oh, captain, my captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But oh, heart, 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 oh, the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. O captain, my captain, rise up and hear the bells, rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills, for you bouquets and ribbon wreaths, for you the shores a crowding, for you they call, the swaying mast, their eager faces turning. Here, captain, dear father, this arm beneath your head, it is some dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead. My captain does not answer, his lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm, he has nor pulse nor will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip the victor ship comes in with object won. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells! But I, with mournful tread, walk the deck, my captain lies, fallen, cold, and dead. So this poem was written in the older fashioned style of common poetry compared to what Whitman gets famous for. And it has regular meter, it has regular patterns of rhyme. And I think because Whitman knew he was writing it very much for public consumption, he stuck in the kind of poetry that most people were used to. Most of the stuff Whitman gets the most respect for, as he keeps writing during his career, is much more free verse, without end rhyme and without a regular sort of metered line after line, that sort of thing, right? So this was, Oh, Captain, My Captain.